What's happening, folks? Welcome back to Celtic Fans TV. It's time for the post-match pint here from Malone's Bar on Sucky Hall Lane. Brilliant music on down the stair, Kevin. We're dying to stay, aren't we?
Certainly, yeah, but I just can't do it, unfortunately.
If you're in the area, get involved at Malone's Bar. It's after Celtic 3, Ross County 0, Kevin. I mean, I talked to the guys there at the full-time reaction. Pulling teeth a wee bit today for the most part, wasn't it?
Very flat, I thought, is just the word I would use to describe it. I thought the first half kind of passed us by almost. We always had a sense of nervousness around us. We were using maybe one too many more passes than what we would normally would. I thought McGregor was a wee bit off, but internationally he's been absolutely knackered.
Everyone seemed a bit off, didn't it? Like some of the passing in the first half was atrocious.
I thought Turnbull was well off the pace, apart from obviously he did improve as the game went on, but Taylor,
Rogic,
Ayeti huffed and puffed, but it was just we were a wee bit all over the place, and Starfelt was just the usual, a wee bit more of a bomb scare. But at the end of the day, it is still 3 points, and that's what we needed. So,
that is the main thing, getting the 3 points. But there's so many factors you can point to today when you're thinking about why were we a wee bit off. Because the home form so far has been absolutely fantastic. Yeah. And Ross County at home, you're expecting again today to go in, and you're home for another 3, 4, 5, 6. But it was actually 3 in the end today, but it just doesn't feel like that, because if there's a single factor for me, it is that Kyogo wasn't involved today, and what he brings to the whole team, the effect he has on the whole team, with his intensity, his movement, dynamism, he's a different animal to anything else that we've got, and yet he's so different to that. And I just thought that, particularly in the first half, it was so stark, the difference in the team.
Yeah, but you got to remember we had a couple of debutants on the side as well, so that didn't help. And then, as you say, we missed Kyogo, missed his pace, and I think he just, as you say, he just brings out something in the team.
And in the crowd.
And in the crowd as well. And like when we scored that first goal, he was the first one up celebrating and was going mental because we get the camera where we sit. And but our last 4 league games, we were 22-0 aggregate scores. So I was hoping for more to kind of keep going. And I know off the field things may have affected it, because I was speaking to someone beside me and I was saying, I don't think that would affect me. But then you do think about it, it probably does affect the team a little bit, because you just don't know what's happening. I think Carter Vickers was great today, though, for a debutant. I thought Jota, he came into the game, he just wasn't taking on his players a couple of times. Then once he did, you saw the effects. Juranovic, I thought was good.
Did you?
Well, I did.
I'm going to disagree, because I just thought at times on the ball, he turned over the ball easily 7, 8, 9 times.
I thought, the way I was looking at it was, if he might have turned the ball over, but he was always wanting to win the ball back and be more. It was the speed on him was incredible at times, and he's everywhere. So if he gives his all, then I don't mind that. And in the grand terms of the result,
no, I agree. He did recover. He did recover a few. But I just thought again he was maybe just a wee bit slack. And again, I know that it's just something that's kind of spread throughout the team today. It just seemed like everyone was a bit, particularly in that first half. As I said, you touched on the debutants there. Carter Vickers, who gets the goal that opens the door, and it's
a lucky goal.
10 minutes before that, Juranovic has a shot for distance, and I was livid, because see when you're struggling to break a team down, you're having a bit of an off day, and you start hitting shots for distance. That's an acceptance that we're struggling to break you down. We're just going to start hitting pot shots and hoping for the best, and it really, really frustrates me. But today, Carter Vickers hits a shot, it loops off the defender, goes in, and then all of a sudden we do take control of the game, end up winning it comfortably, and it's a big moment, but we were very fortunate.
It totally changes the game, and it was great to see Carter Vickers, because he did deserve the goal, I think, because he didn't put a foot wrong. He might not be the most quickest of players, but he's got strength, which is what we're needing in that defence. He's
a big boy, isn't he?
He is big, but he's not exactly quite tall, but he's got the strength. He held off Charles Cook numerous times. He always wanted to come forward, because I was getting annoyed with the amount of times we were going back the way, even with 3-0 up. Go forward. It's just, why not? Because
I just want to pick you up on that, because that is something I've realised today. We've been so used to already under Postecoglou, the constant forward intensity, and I thought that was missing big time today. Joe Hart was starting it. There was a few times Joe Hart goal kicks. As soon as the ball goes out, he's demanding another ball.
That's what you want to see,
and that is what you want to see. But I just thought, apart from that, like as we moved up the pitch, that urgency and the sort of directness and the pace just wasn't there.
No, it wasn't. But you've got to look in the grand scheme of things. It was a bit of a changed team. Mayete came in and I thought he deserved his goal. I mean, his first goal, I mean, he absolutely flung himself at it, and it was an absolutely great ball in from Abada, and he deserved it because he was trying his best. It was a very compact Ross County side, 10 men behind the ball. I mean, there was times during the first half where all bar I can't remember the number 26 for Ross County, but he was the only one ahead of the ball. So it is going to turn into that game where you are reduced to shots on goal, and sometimes it needs that bit of luck, and we got it. And once that happened, and then once McCarthy came on, I felt he kind of dictated the tempo a bit in the middle of the park, and he was unlucky not to get his goal. But I just hope that we keep the momentum up, because keeping that momentum up is going to be very tiring, you know.
Yeah, I think so. And I think in midfield, I think every day you've mentioned it already. McGregor a bit off it, Turnbull and Vogic.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if Vogic was away with Australia, but my God, he looked like he was away. He looked like he just stepped off a plane.
I think it looked as if he lost a bit of weight somewhere, because he looked very, very slow.
He's needing to put it back on.
Because he was a bit all over the place. He kept getting crowded out off the ball. He was trying to do his mermaid turns, and they weren't working.
The things you associate with Tom Rogic, you know, even those weren't working today.
Finding space in a telephone box, he just wasn't doing it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's not a 3-0 result, it's a 1-0 result, really. But I'll take it as 3 points, and over the course of the season, this could still be very important, you know?
No, absolutely. And I think with the sort of off the field stuff yesterday, we could not afford for that game today to be anything other than a win, because you know that all that off the park stuff gets amplified when the results aren't going well, and all the attention, if you like, gets diverted away from the football to the board and all of the off the pitch stuff, which isn't the best at times. So it was so vital to get the win. You've talked about Jota already. I thought Jota in the first half, I thought he was bright. You can tell the type of player that he is.
Almost
a few
like
tricks.
I think almost like a wee bit with the speed and the intensity and the.
He likes to go at people. I think the end product, it strikes me again. Can't judge somebody after watching them for 190 minutes, but strikes me as a player who maybe struggles a bit with end product. He panicked a couple of times today in crossing positions and in shooting positions, but he's got the raw attributes there to be a player. He looks like a very good dribbler. As I say, he's direct, and he took risks today, and I think for a player in his position, that is so vital. To be a winger at Celtic, you have to take risks, and I'm happy to see he played a few passes. He tried to play a few through balls, didn't come off, and that's fine, because you need players in those positions to take risks. So overall, a decent enough debut.
I mean, it's one of them. I mean, you're going to get games like that in the season. They're not always going to be 5-6, 7-0. We'd love it, but it's not going to be like that. But I think Ross County were always just going to sit back, and Malky Mackay's teams are never famed for being attacking. Let's be honest. But I thought even the crowd today was quite flat. And I'm not saying that's a definite factor, but I think off the field was maybe just playing a lot of people's minds.
We undercurrent.
And like all the directors were there, including like everybody, including the U acting CEO. So, and obviously the Green Brigade put out a banner, which I think they've just recycled from the protest. But
was Don Mackay still on it? I think he might have been.
He was still on it. Yeah, from where I could see, he was still on it.
It's like 1 down, 9 to go.
So who knows? That might be someone's plan. But obviously, we'll discuss that in a minute. But at the end of the day, as you say, we needed the win. We got the win, and now we move forward.
I think a big thing in terms of the crowd is the crowd feed off the players as well, and that intensity from the word go today wasn't there.
No.
And again, I'm happy to say that it's all because Kyogo wasn't there, but I know it's probably a wee bit more nuanced than that. But there you go. I think defensively today we gave Ross County chances.
Yes.
We made mistakes. I thought Greg Taylor in the first half, I've said this a few times already this season, that Greg Taylor stands out to me as the weak link in the team. We'll come to talk about midfield and depth in midfield in a minute, but Greg Taylor at left back, I mean, there was one today where, Charles Cook?
Yeah.
He's got like 5 or 10 yards on him, and he gets beat.
Yeah.
And Charles Cook plays the ball across the 6-yard box, and I don't know if it's Jordan White that's coming in on it. Somebody's coming in at the back stick. Might be Ross Callahan, but if he takes another step, he's probably going to score.
Aye.
And that situation should never have arisen.
No.
Joe Hart makes a brilliant save at 1-0 as well.
Yeah.
And
From Dominic Samuel, yeah.
And there was just a couple of moments, even though Ross County didn't make a lot of them, there was a couple of moments where you thought, on another day we could have got punished there.
Yeah. And I think maybe your Hibs or maybe even your Hearts, Aberdeen, would pounce on those opportunities. I did think though when Joe Hart made the save, there was a change almost, and it was
again in the atmosphere.
Again in the atmosphere, everybody rose to that. So I think though Charles Cook was given way too much time by Starfelt, by sometimes Carter Vickers pulled up, but I think what we see today is obviously we are still trying to build a team, and as you say, we've got options, but when you look at the bench, it's very weak. We didn't have one attacker on that bench. Like, we're waiting on Giacomakis coming back, waiting on Kyogo coming back. You don't see where a bench could change a game, and that's what the game needed. And if it wasn't for Carter Vickers, we might not be in this position discussing a 3-0 victory.
Aye, absolutely. The bench is a big thing that stands out to me. We've mentioned it already this season, that the lack of depth on the bench has been worrying at times. And I think, as you say, you can see that play out today. I know Giacomakis isn't ready. I know that Kyogo's injured. And then Ayeti has to start. So we've got no strikers on the bench. We've got nothing to change it. And that brings me on to the depth in midfield. We see Sorrow and McCarthy come on today. And because Sorrow had come on before McCarthy, McCarthy did play further forward. And he roamed about, and we were up 2 or 3-0 at the time when he came on, so that's fine. But they do strike me as natural sixes.
Yeah.
So if McCarthy can stay fit and he plays 6 and McGregor can move up, okay, then one of Turnbull and Bogic you think has to drop out, and that gives you an option of one of those on the bench. But I just can't shake the feeling that we're too weak in midfield for what we need this season.
Yeah, I would totally agree with you there. I think also we do lack height as well, because when you're
physicality in midfield,
physicality and height. Because how many times did we have a corner? Did not we had that many corners, or we had a set piece? The ball would just go past and nobody would be attacking it. Like it's just frustrating. But that's us reached the end of the transfer window. We've brought in players. Hopefully, Giacomakis will become good. Liam Scales might be coming in a wee bit quicker, but I think Adam Montgomery didn't do himself any harm at all today. He's done well for Scotland under 21s. I'm very much happy with the way Montgomery's progressing. Yeah,
I agree there, and I think I'd like to see Montgomery, certainly in these games, I say this season after season, seeing these games where we have players who are promising in a certain position, and there's a first team player in that position that's underperforming, i.e. Greg Taylor, give Montgomery the game time.
Aye.
Like, in those games today, even though I've said we had defensive lapses today, like, a lot of Greg Taylor's job is going forward.
Yeah.
Can he get across? Can he find an assist? And can he give a different dimension in terms of pace up and down the line? And he can't. He can't do those things.
No.
I think Adam Montgomery looks like he's got a bit more pace about him. I think his dribbling ability is a lot better.
Confidence as well.
He's got that fearlessness you would maybe associate with a young player as well. I just think in these games at home against bottom 6 teams, let's just get Adam Montgomery game time, let him develop, let him learn. And okay, I know this contradicts what I've said about keeping that consistent back 4. But will it be Scales? It could be Scales as well, but I'm just concerned about Greg Taylor long term.
Yeah, I totally agree with you as well. And then I think Bolingoli is as good as gone now, because he's not going to get anyone to the team. And I don't think I really disagree with that, with what happened.
No.
I know a lot of things happened after.
Even if you forget what happened, he was hopeless, wasn't he?
He was still hopeless. But I think I would more want to see a model whereby we are promoting youth, and that's what Ange buys into. So if we can do that, then I'd be all for it. But yeah, Bolingoli is as good as gone in that respect. But I don't know, Ralston, what was... I didn't know if he was...
I don't know. He wasn't on the bench today, was he?
On the bench today, and I felt that was a bit harsh, because he's done nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Same with Stephen Welsh, because these guys have come in, and it is... I think it's to be expected, but at the same time, you know...
The one thing I'll say about Welsh is, I think he's done brilliantly, but I think one of the weaknesses in his game, other than going to ground, is maybe his passing range.
Yeah.
And I think you could see today with Carter Vickers, a few really nice balls into the channel, looking for a Bada, maybe looking for Juranovic going down the wing. And of the three, if you take Starfelt, Carter Vickers and Welsh, I think Carter Vickers looks like the best on the ball.
Yeah.
Based just on one performance.
Yeah.
Now, Willer Starfelt is in there because we've spent big money on him and he kind of has to come good. I know a lot of people would probably rather see Welsh and Carter Vickers today than Starfelt and Carter Vickers. But I do think that the ability on the ball is a big factor for Ange, and I think you can see today with Carter Vickers that he's got that.
Yeah, he is very confident,
Comfortable
composed ball.
yeah.
I mean, the good thing about Carter Vickers was that he was always wanting to go forward. He never once done a backwards pass. I can't remember. It was always either sideways or forward, and that's what I prefer to see in a Celtic team. Not going backwards, it just infuriates me. It really does.
Carter Vickers looks comfortable in possession. Starfelt does not ever look comfortable in possession.
And then there was a couple of times a day where he was ready to run and then stopped. And that gave Charles Scott the confidence to go, and then you're nearly in a position where you're conceding a goal.
He had a Jack Hendry moment in the first half, Carol Starfelt, where he kind of dribbled so far up the pitch that he thought, oh no, hold on a minute, where am I here? And he almost done like a full 360, and then
he went
had to just pass it to McGregor or something.
Venture up to the halfway line.
Got a bit of a nosebleed. I want to talk about Thursday, mate, but I didn't really get a chance to cover that properly in the content outside the stadium. It's a big game on Thursday, away in Seville against Betis. Tough. You think about where the squad is at today. Ayeti comes in, he gets 2 goals. As you say, worked hard, but we're a different threat, and I think a lesser threat without Kyogo Furuhashi, and I think against a better team than Ross County, that is going to be accentuated even more.
Yeah.
So Thursday's a tough game.
Real Betis are a top quality Spanish side, like constantly in the top half of La Liga, and that's no mean feat in itself. They've got some great players. I do think they will cause us problems. I'm not really holding out a lot of hope. I'm just jealous that I can't go because it's a stadium I've always wanted to go to. But who knows, maybe in the future. I still think we will give a good account of ourselves, but the mistakes like we would done today, you're going to get absolutely punished every time. And you can go on the basis that, Europe's not a lot, but at the end of the day, it still brings in money, so you still need to try and perform to the best of the ability. And I know this will kind of contradict what I've just said, but at the end of the day, it is a bit of a free hit this year, and who knows, maybe next year, just depend on what happens in the league.
Yeah, I just think it's the same old story with Celtic away from home, innit? Like, you just know there'll be spells of that game where you're watching for between your fingers because we'll be all over the place, flustered, panicked.
Yeah,
the defence, it's just Celtic, innit?
I've never seen a team like that perform like Celtic doing away from home. Every other team either has a goal or it's comfortable. You just have to get the rosary beads out and just hope for the best.
I think if it's anything like that AZ game, I don't know if I'll make it through it.
Nah.
I suppose it won't be because it's a group stage game. It's not a qualifier. There's not as much riding on this single game on Thursday, but it is going to be a tall order for us. And the difficulty is you go to Livingston 3 days later.
Plastic pitch.
We haven't won there since they came back into the league. And I think that the thing I've taken away for today's game is we have to navigate these league matches between now and Kyogo returning with maximum points.
I know, and then I think it is possible. It's going to be tough, but I would like to see. I don't know. I've not really looked up on the fitness level of Giacomakis, but a player that was the top scorer in the Dutch league ain't a bad player. So if he can do it there, then hopefully he can come in. But I'd like to see him come into the fold. I'm glad that Ayeti got his chance and took it with both arms, and he's a player that can score goals, so he might just fill a void for us at the moment. So who knows, it might give us a selection headache in the future, but at the same time, it's all ifs, buts and maybes. Thursday's going to be suck it and see. It really will be. Can't really hold out much hope for him, but I think if we get out with a draw, we are very, very lucky to get out with a draw. Yeah.
To be fair, he had a really good performance away from home against Lille last season.
Yeah, he did.
If we can replicate that on Thursday, that will really help us. Before we round up, Kevin, we need to talk about the off the field charade again. I
think charade's even it quite nice. I think it's just.
I thought we were
comedy.
I thought we were getting by the sort of off the field mess that we endured last season where it was nightmare after nightmare and a lot of embarrassing decisions made by the club. But whatever way you look at this situation, to appoint a chief executive and 3 months later decide that he's actually not a good fit is a bit amateur.
It's very amateur. It's very comical. I think when I received the tweet, I thought it was a joke. I thought it was one of these joke profiles that people make up, and I'm thinking, why after 3 months in this new era, as it was built, and it was going to be modernisation everywhere, we're going to look into things. And if you look at his interview with Ange Postecoglou, it was very much, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And then it's just going to be all cast to one side, and we're now putting in Michael Nicholson, who's already there. So is it a case of we don't want change, so bye-bye, or is it just sheer incompetence? We won't know. We spoke about this earlier. It'll be maybe something we'll find out in 25 year time, and we'll be discussing over post-match play in 25 years. But I think change needs to happen at the club. We can't just... I think the most annoying part for me is when Ian Bankier came out and said that Michael Nicholson has been with us and knows our visions and objectives. Well, can they tell the fans that? We don't know what the vision of the club is. We've never known for ages. You go to an AGM, you're fed absolute rubbish by people who just want to buy shares, and it's great, oh yeah, buy shares in the club, but we need direction, and that's what a multi-million pound club normally has. And I know that it's a business, I know that, but we need clear direction, and we just don't seem to have it. And as you say, I thought we were past all this, but who knows? And he's probably going to be made the full-time CEO, and I think it's quite worrying, because I don't necessarily agree with that member being on board, and I'm sure other people don't as well, because obviously we have values and traditions. But for me, it's just comical.
I think
I know I've ranted on a bit there.
No, pardon me. I think the values and traditions of the club are often in contradiction with a PLC.
Always going to be.
Aye, absolutely. The thing that's I can't get my head around is if the values of the board, the vision of the board, aren't aligned with Dominic Mackay, then why did you appoint him? Surely there was a recruitment process there, at least a few interviews, meetings, presentations about where the club was going. How could it not have been aligned? And this is the thing about the narrative now that is going to run and run if the club allow it. And the club are going to allow it because they're just going to deflect and ignore and just, again, the personal reasons. The term personal reasons is enough in itself to just, honestly, it's just laughable,
that
isn't it?
Could cover anything and everything.
Aye,
right?
It's the vaguest term in the world. What's the vaguest PLC term you can ever come up with? Personal reasons, right? So, we're not going to know exactly what's happened here, but it's just laughable that we've ended up in this situation where whether he wasn't the best fit, whether the visions didn't align, whatever it is, surely you need to find that out when you're making an appointment as big as that.
It wouldn't honestly surprise me if this was just one almighty stunt to appease the fans, to make it look as if we tried this way, but no, we're going to go back to the traditional way. I'm actually lost for words at times, because you run out of adjectives and descriptions to describe the way the board has been run for years. But let's not forget, this was a man that was headhunted by Peter Law, so surely he would have bought into the whole of the way of Peter Law thinking if that was what they were still trying to go, but make it look as if it was this great new era. But I struggle to see where our next big step in the right direction is, because I just think, as you say, it's going to be constant reflection and moving from one disaster to another. And I still think the Bantiers has swiftly pushed from
as, and I think if you add this to the list of disasters, like decision-making disasters that the club have made in the last 18 months, 24 months, 36 months, then how long is the list? How long is a piece of string? I just want to complete my thought, by the way, on the narrative that's going to run in one, that you bring in a guy to modernise, and straight off the bat he says, we need to modernise the club, we need to do this, we need to do that, and then 3 months later he's out the door because he's not the right fit. All the parts are there for that story. That the board didn't like this outsider, because this is an outsider. It's somebody from a different sport, someone not from the the very closed shop that is the Celtic
clique.
board. Yes. And you bring him in, he talks about modernisation, and 3 months later, he's gone. And this is the other thing about Celtic in the way that it's run. Nobody ever gets sacked.
No, I know.
At least not
Mutual
front,
consent.
like public facing, they never get sacked. So Dominic Mackay has resigned for personal reasons. They've sat down and obviously said, listen, this isn't working, you need to go. Same as Neil Lennon, after that Omni shambles that we watched unfold last season, still didn't get sacked.
No,
They
left
still
in his
gave
own
him the
terms.
dignity to say, oh, he's going to walk away or he's going to resign or he's got like grow a backbone, man.
Look at the board members though, and the youngest person there is 60 years of age. I'm sorry, but most businesses have young, dynamic people there with fresh thinking, and most clubs do. Like I just don't see where it has to be this closed shop and the curtain twitching almost, and just like we'll not tell you how to do it, but you have to keep giving us money. You have to keep giving your season tickets, but you confirm. It's almost. How many times have we said this? It's almost gone back to the way it was in the 90s, and who knows, it might lead another revolution aside the board, but it's going to go that way if we just lead from one disaster to another. It's okay because we're in a position where we'll still win the majority of our games, but we want to still be the best, and we've let ourselves slip from a position of absolute strength to mediocrity.
Aye, absolutely. And I think whatever way you look at it, whether you want to take the board side on this and say they've done the right thing if they thought Dom Mackay wasn't the right guy to just terminate it now and move on, or whether you think that Dominic Mackay came in, was trying to modernise things the board didn't like and was forced out.
Aye.
Whatever way you look at it, it is a mess.
Aye.
And it's another mess created by the club. This is through recruitment, poor decision making.
Yep.
You could talk all night about how quickly they've made this decision in comparison to some decisions that they delayed on last season. It's a mess, and I think it points to a worrying picture for how the club is being run. And that's the note we have to end on tonight. Like this video, comment with your own thoughts below. Please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. We'll see you on Tuesday for the build-up to Betis. I'm going to be talking to Euro Expert on Twitter, finding out a bit more about Betis, their forum, how they play, how they're likely to set up. And then we'll have all the normal matchday content on Thursday as well. So join us for that. Cheers.